All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give out honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Kakadash. Double honor to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone who rule well and teach well. Shalom to the like men that scatter abroad, pushing this truth without sincerity. And also shalom to you very few sincere sisters that's taking heed and getting in order in these last days. I'm your brother N.W.O come to the quick lesson low when it's edifying. And I was at work yesterday, and I'm just doing my job. And Jake had rode, he was on a forklift. Of course, you can see he was on this forklift. And he had pretty much walked past me. And I looked at the shirt. All I seen was the initials. And I was like, I don't think that's what it really stand for. So I leaned in a little bit closer to see. And as you can see, it says New World Order, right? And as I was going to my lesson yesterday, I had accidentally scrolled past this picture. I was like, I gotta do a lesson on that, but this is something real quick, but it's just the spirit, because I was speaking about the MOTB, I want to say this week as well, or last week as well. And just to see another sign, of your, at work, and it's funny because when I was, I'm coming at Jake in a different way. I'm like, damn, man, what you know about that shirt, man? And, Jake was like, man, I'm a big wrestling fan. And I'm like, man, it's deeper than that. Them three others go way deeper than some wrestling, man. But I joke with him, like, oh yeah, man, I ain't the biggest, fan of wrestling, but I used to watch it back then, talking my shit, But hey, here you have it. Hey, this is what we coming into, right? The New World Order. That's why so much chaos is going forth right now, right? What is it? How the saying go? Chaos, problem, solution. I forgot how it goes. I think that's how it goes. But we seeing things being set up, right? Seeing videos about how China they're using the implant, more commercial. So this is the time. Hey, this prophecy is about to come to pass, man. Like I said, this is gonna be a quick lesson. Just seeing this shirt, and this made me want to just, hey man, let me bring out this Revelation 13 and 16. That's what's coming down the pipeline, right? Excuse me. All right, so let me start at verse 1. It's just the book of Habakkuk 2 and verse 1. I will stand upon my watch and set me upon the tower, and will watch to see what he will say unto me, and what I shall answer when I am reproved. And the Lord Yahweh, right, those on the God son Yahweh shall answer me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, that he may run that readeth it. And that's, as I went to the lesson earlier in the week about making it plainly on tablets, right, as the NLT quotes, breaking down the MOTB, letting you know that, hey, this prophecy is coming to fast real soon, right? We're seeing somewhat of an energy lockdown. You've been hearing about how they can cut the cord on shores on the ocean floor, for the grid, right? It's nothing for them to cut it off and open it back up with a new requirement. You have to be tagged with this implement, this RFID, right? This chip, right? It says, and the Lord answered me and said, write the vision and make it plain upon tables, right? We telling you how this man gonna know what to look out for. We telling you that it's gonna give you a cancer, a grievous sore. Telling you that, hey, if you take this, Yahweh Shemel is gonna deal with you personally, right? But it says, write the vision and make it plain. You don't get no plainer than breaking it down to the Greek word of charagma. And the root word of charagma is charax, meaning what? The instrument, more likely be the instrument that they're going to use to insert inside your body, with the chip, in the charax. That's the root word of charax. Grapho is the root word of charax, and that just holding all your information. Just like a memory card. They got all your information in there. All your saved files. It's and it says and that he may run that readeth it, right? And hearing that you will get judged by the Lord himself, that would make you want to run, right? And honestly, it makes you hearing that it's the truth. You know, when the Lord give you that discernment, it makes you be like, you know what, that's right. You know, that's right. Let me follow behind that, because I can see how things are headed. You know, all of these stores are ready to tap to pay. You know, like I said, I did a video many moons ago. I was literally at one of my delivery jobs, and I actually seen a lady have 2 chips in her hand. You know, well, she didn't have it on the outside. But she was literally jabbed in both hands. So she was newly, chipped, because she had like a little bandage on her. She was an elderly lady. Appears to be an Edomite. Pay for her food and everything. She had her sat inside her right hand. She was paying for stuff, so probably the left hand is probably for something else. I don't know. I'm not trying to find out. That way. But yeah, making it what it says. So matter of fact, in NLT, I'm gonna read the latter end of it. It says, so that a runner can carry the correct message to others. Right, so we carrying the correct message to the ones. We're really to everybody. We come with the correct message, right? Because the incorrect message is out there about the MOTB. We're breaking it down piece by piece, to where it's like you cannot get around what the prophets have been saying, starting off with Great Millstone, right? From the apostles on down. Verse 3: for the vision is yet for an appointed time, but at the end it shall speak and not lie, right? And we're so close to that time period where you're going to see who's been lying and who's been right? And like it states in the book of Ezekiel 33 and 33, when all these things shall come to pass, then shall they know that a prophet have been among them. So you're going to know who's been telling you the truth, breaking it down plainly, right? For the vision is yet for an appointed time, right? In the scheduled time, it says, but at the end it shall speak, right? Meaning it can be made manifest, it's going to be fulfilled, right? You won't be a part of society unless you don't have it, right? And they showed that not too long ago, was about 22, having that the jab. They said, if you're not a jab, you can't come in here. I forgot, was it Swabs? He had said, if you don't have it, you're gonna be X out of society. All right, that's pre-MOTB. Right, so let me keep going. It says, though it tarry, wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not tarry, right? And we're definitely in that part, man. So just to see that sign, it's like just to see it from that just to see that shirt, it was just like, damn, man, hey, we getting closer, man. And we already know about the whole Agenda 2030. They want things to be up and pumping 2030, not starting the mission 2030. So we can see a lot of things happening overnight. And there's a lot of speculations of lockdowns. Not even speculation. They already really ready to be rolled out. I'm going to read this in the book of Revelation 13, and I'm going to close out. It's Revelation 13. And I start at verse 16. Right, in the NLT. And I'm going to jump back to the KJV in verse 17. It says, he required everyone. See? He required everyone. There's going to be a new requirement in the earth. Right? China showed you. And that's what the Lord has been doing. He's saving the best for last. You already know that America will make everybody go crazy, man. But He's been showing us with these other different nations, these other countries. You got like social credit score. Right? It says he required everyone, small and great, rich and poor, free and slave, to be given a mark on the right hand or on the forehead. right? It says back in the KJV, and that no man might buy or sell save he that hath the mark or the name of the beast or the number of his name, right? You won't be able to maneuver without this device, right? And like I said, we seen that 2020, you could barely bust a move, man, right? Because you have to have that requirement. It says, here's wisdom, verse 18. Here's wisdom. Let him that have understanding count the number of the beast. For it is the number of a man, and his number is 603 Right, going to the Chi stigma. Going to what the UPC Universal Product Code, man. That's what you're going to be having this device, right? Because really going to the word charagma, it's like if getting that charagma, it just pretty much you re-own it, you're renewing your slave contract, man. And you pretty much saying that, hey, you rather fear Esau, Edom, than fearing the Lord by not by receiving that chip, So I'm gonna close out with that. Just something real quick that I saw. Wanted just to put it on wax. So Lord was edifying. I'm gonna give out on the glory and praise to you. How about Shem Shai, by Shem Kakadash. Shalom.